Okay, here's a topic that's been bouncing around the Brony community post-season 4, and especially after the announcement that we'll be going to season 5 and beyond. And especially with the other announcement of the networks changing hands back to Discovery Channel. And this is all simply the fact of how long can a series last and still be good? How long can My Little Pony run before it runs its course? Should it be a long-running series, or should it be a short-running series? Should it have an actual end, or should it keep on going with no end in sight? Now, the thing is, there's been good examples and bad examples of this happening. In shows like Scooby-Doo, Offer, Case Closed, Avatar: The Last Airbender, a lot of DC and Marvel stuff, and to some extent Rugrats, Pokemon, and most of the Simpsons episodes, we've got, and even other shows that have been around for a while like Transformers or G.I. Joe or such, we have an example of series that have run for a long time and are still enjoyable to watch. Even Sesame Street, to name another example. There are some shows out there that were good back in the day and are still good, or at least partially good, even now. But then there are shows like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents, the later seasons of The Simpsons, Family Guy, that feel like they are going on and on and on, and we're getting tired of them. Even some of the later episodes of Pokemon, I feel like I just can't keep up with this series anymore, and I feel like it's been going on too long. There's even shows that have been around a long time in concept, but have been rebooted and redesigned over and over. Shows like your Ninja Turtles and Transformers and G.I. Joe and such. There's both good and bads to keeping a show around for a long time. So you're probably thinking about, oh, what about spin-offs? Well, that's where you get into another versus. You can have a good spin-off like Different World from Cosby Show, or One Adam 12 from Dragnet, or Korra from Avatar, or Justice League from Batman and Superman. You can have a great example like Deep Space Nine from Star Trek, or a bad example like Enterprise, also from Star Trek. You can have other bad examples like the Ewoks and Droids series, the Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, Aftermath, Alf Tales, or Teen Titans Go. Spin-offs, sequels, reboots, continuations of a series, even switching networks, like what happened with Sliders, Futurama, The Critic, and many others, can result in changes of writing quality. Taking a series and trying to keep it going can be a gamble, and it's not a case of whether or not this always fails or always succeeds. It's a case of, will it continue to be written well as it goes on and on? Will you always have that same writing team? Will you always have the same networks and the same bosses asking you to do the same stuff, or will bring about change, bring about some kind of new rules that get in the way of that magical formula. Consider things like Dud and New Dud, Rugrats and Rugrats All Grown Up. There are pros and cons to every idea. The transition from Super Mario Super Show to Super Mario 3 to Super Mario World. There are so many examples of how this can work, how this can't work. Gargoyles to The Life Chronicles, DuckTales to Darkwing Duck. There are a lot of shows that know exactly how to go on and on forever, like Case Closed or Offer, and still be good every time you watch it, even though they may run so long that you'll never be able to watch every episode in a single day. Other times, a series can run forever and have a drop in quality or a loss of audience interest, such as the case with SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, and Pokemon. And it can have the result of qualities that rise up and down, such as the case with Star Trek The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, and the rebooted movie series. Sometimes a great show like MASH can turn into a disappointment like Aftermash, or a series can have continuously great spin-offs like Dragnet to 1 Adam 12 to Emergency. Or it can have a great series like Avatar The Last Airbender that spins off another great but all too short series like Legend of Korra. And then it can get money tossed at it until it reluctantly comes back and does a second season, and then a third season, and then a fourth season, each with varying levels of quality because the networks can't make up their mind. Or you can get something great like Thundercats or Young Justice, and you can have those great things canceled in the middle of their run before they have a chance to end. Or you can get something that's been along forever, over many incarnations of varying quality, with the same cast painted in different lights, like what happened with Scooby-Doo, or Ninja Turtles, or Transformers, or something of that nature. Scooby-Doo attempting to have some form of continuity while at the same time being able to be watched in any order, while Transformers and Ninja Turtles are more like reboots of the same series being redesigned with each new series as its own separate continuity, but Ninja Turtles showing that they're all part of one giant multiverse. It can get confusing. It can be a chance when you want to keep a good show going. Even something like Digimon had 2 seasons in canon and the rest were separate canons all on their own. Sonic the Hedgehog, he had multiple series, none of them in canon. Sliders was good until it changed networks and got different writing. Futurama changed networks with a slightly noticeable change, but was still relatively good throughout. The Critic changed networks, remained pretty good, but ultimately ended up on the internet where it remained in somewhat obscurity. The point is, every time you do one of these things, Offer has been a great series, enjoyable to watch since the beginning, and still does quality content. The point is, every time you do one of these things where you try to keep a series going or you try to spin it off into something else, you can either have good results or you can have bad. And the same thing is true for continuing My Little Pony. It can either be good or it can be bad. But we shouldn't assume that all spin-offs, all reboots, and all long-running series are bad. Only consider the statistic possibility that most of the time, from our personal experiences, things do get bad when they run too long, reboot, or spin off. But it's not that we should stop trying, it's that we should stop trying poorly. We should start putting forth the effort and quality to make every incarnation enjoyable. It's not that every time you spin off the comedy relief you end up with a Planet Sheen or a Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. It's just that usually that's the end result, and often that's what happens. It doesn't mean that spinning off Pinkie Pie into her own series can't work. Just that it probably won't, and you really shouldn't try. Another observation is that in things like Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters and Teen Titans Go, there's not only a writing quality change, but also an art style change. Weird that that would happen. Anyhow, tell me what you think about the idea of continuing spinning off or rebooting the Pony series. What's the worst that can happen, and what are some of your ideas for how to do it properly? Thank you for watching, and good night.